YONGNUO 85mm F1.8S DF DSM. Just imagining the name feels like a mouthful, right? But trust me, this lens is something I've been super excited to talk about. This is the updated version made specifically for Sony E Mount cameras, and I've had the chance to try it out myself. So today, I'm going to share everything I've discovered about it, both the good and the things you might want to consider. Let's start with the first thing I noticed when I got my hands on this lens, the build quality. Honestly, this is my kind of lens. It has a nice heft to it, but not in a way that feels heavy or tiring to carry around. It's mostly metal, which gives it a more premium feel compared to some plastic alternatives. Personally, I appreciate when a lens feels solid without weighing me down, and this one gets that balance just right. It comes with a lens cap, which feels robust, and on the barrel, there's an autofocus manual focus switch. This feature makes it easy to adjust your focus mode, depending on whether you want the lens to do the work or if you prefer to rely on manual adjustments. One little feature that stands out is a programmable button on the lens. It's small, but actually a nice touch. It lets me tailor the lens just a bit to fit how I shoot. There's also the focusing ring, which is smooth and has just the right amount of resistance. It's pretty intuitive whether you're focusing manually or simply giving it a turn to feel a little more in control. Plus, there's a hood included in the box, which is always nice because, hey, fewer lenses these days come with them without having to pay extra. The filter thread is 58mm, in case you were wondering or need that info to buy filters. An interesting thing I noticed though, and I have to be honest here, is that the finish on this lens is a bit prone to fingerprints. I mean, straight out of the box, I found myself leaving visible smudges on it almost immediately. It's not a deal breaker for me, but if little things like that bug you, it's something to be aware of. But let's face it, if you're drawn to this lens, it's probably because of what it offers photographically, not whether or not it's a smudge magnet. Okay, so when I hooked this lens up to my Sony A7 RE, it immediately felt like a great match. The lens itself is compact, more compact than I expected for an 85mm, and paired with my camera setup, it felt comfortable enough to use for hours at a time. I think this size makes it great for travel and outdoor use since it won't dominate your bag space. Even though it's built solidly and doesn't feel flimsy, it's not bulky, and I love that balance. It's a lens that's big enough to feel serious, but not so big that it becomes a hassle. Now, let's talk about the performance, because I know that's what you care about most. The autofocus? Quiet and quick. It uses a digital stepping motor system, which apparently makes it faster and quieter than many other lenses in this price range. That quietness is a huge deal, especially for anyone like me who dabbles in videography. Nobody wants weird lens clicking noises showing up in their audio, and with this lens, you won't need to worry. From my experience, the autofocus tracks subjects pretty well without much hesitation, although I did notice a slight slowdown in tricky lighting situations. Speaking of tricky lighting, the aperture on this lens is one of its main selling points. At f1.8, it lets in a ton of light, which makes it brilliant for low light or night photography, or if you love achieving that dreamy background blur, also known as bokeh. I had fun testing this out in different scenarios, whether shooting portraits of friends or trying to isolate a single flower in a park, and the soft, defocused areas look pretty appealing most of the time. However, you might notice that the bokeh isn't the most smooth or perfect you'll ever see. That's probably because of the 7 aperture blades, which don't produce the super rounded bokeh you'll see with more expensive lenses. Still, unless you're super nitpicky, I don't think it's a deal breaker. One thing to mention is the image quality overall. The sharpness is impressive, especially in the center of the frame. Whether I was shooting at f1.8 or stopping down a bit, the subjects look crisp and detailed. That said, there were times I noticed some vignetting around the edges, particularly when shooting wide open. Vignetting is when the corners of your image get darker than the center, but honestly, this is something you can fix in post-processing if it bothers you. Chromatic aberration, those weird purple and green fringes you sometimes see when photographing high-contrast subjects, did pop up now and then. It's not extreme, but it's there if you're looking for it. Using this lens for video was an interesting experience. The autofocus remained silent, like I mentioned before, which I loved. However, there was a little bit of focus breathing. If you're not familiar with the term, it's when the frame slightly shifts as the lens refocuses from one distance to another. It's not a huge issue unless you're into professional level video work, but it's worth pointing out. Something else I really appreciated was the weather sealing. With dust and water-resistant features, you don't feel like you have to baby this lens in slightly challenging conditions, like shooting outside on a windy day or misty morning. Knowing this lens is somewhat prepared for those situations is a confidence boost when you're out in the field. From my experience, this lens is perfect for photographers who want an affordable option for portraits, still life, or even some casual videography without sacrificing too much in terms of quality. It's especially well suited for anyone working with a Sony E Mount camera who doesn't want to spend a fortune on Sony's own 85mm alternatives. While it's not flawless, it has some minor quirks like vignetting and chromatic aberration. The overall performance for the price is pretty impressive. If you're a beginner or someone just getting into portrait lenses, I'd recommend this as a great starting point without hesitation. In conclusion, the YONGNUO 85mm F1.8S DF DSM offers more than enough value to make it worth considering. It might not outshine the priciest lens options from Sony or others, but it holds its ground as a solid, dependable lens for day-to-day shooting. For me personally, it's proven to be both a reliable and enjoyable tool to have in my kit. If you've got any questions or thoughts about this lens, or maybe you've already tried it yourself, let me know down in the comments. I love hearing what you all think and learning from your experiences too. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.